Oh, we'll practice that.
Okay, I like that. That's good.
Mr. President, where are you with the House bill? Yesterday, we talked to you in the Oval Office. You were opposed to it. What has happened since then, and what's the holdup on that?
Well, we just don't think they're giving enough. We don't think the Democrats are giving enough. We're negotiating. We thought we had something, but all of a sudden they didn't agree to certain things that they agreed to. So we could have something, but we don't think they're giving enough. They're not doing what's right for the country, and they know where it came from. We all know where it came from.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yamiche Alcindor from PBS
Yes.
NewsHour. My first question is, you said that you don't take responsibility, but you did disband the White House Pandemic Office, and the officials that were working in that office left this administration abruptly. So what responsibility do you take to that? And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a nasty question, because what we've done is, and Tony has said numerous times that we've saved thousands of lives because of the quick closing. And when you say me, I didn't do it. We have a group of people. I could ask perhaps my administration, but I could perhaps ask Tony about that, because I don't know anything about it. I mean, you say we did that. I don't know anything about it.
You don't know
We're
about
spending,
about
I
the
don't know.
reorganization that happened at the National
It's the
Security
administration. Perhaps they do that. You know, people let people go. You used to be with a different newspaper than you are now. You know, things like that happen.
I would like to ask you two very brief questions. One, for how long we're gonna have the emergency? The national emergency.
I hope not long, but it's there now, and it gives tremendous powers for things that we need. Tremendous power, actually, and the Stafford Act and various other things that we're involved with and have studied and memorized in so many different ways and forms. It gives the kind of power that we need to get rid of this virus, and we're going to do it very quickly. And I hope we won't need it very long, but whatever it takes.
And a follow-up on Brazil. You're asking people who come back from Europe, Americans who are coming back from Europe, to self-quarantine for a couple weeks. You were in a picture with somebody who now has coronavirus from Brazil at Mar-a-Lago. How is that different?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I'm not coming back from someplace.
But you were exposed.
There was somebody that they say has it. I have no idea who he is, but I take pictures and it lasts for literally seconds. I don't know the gentleman that we're talking about. I have no idea who he is. I haven't seen the picture. I said there's a picture of somebody, but I take sometimes hundreds of pictures a day. And that night I was taking hundreds of pictures, so I just don't know. Now, I did sit with the president for probably 2 hours, but he's tested negative, so that's good.
I want to first follow up on Jeff's question, because the person you were standing next to, whether you know who he is or not, tested positive for coronavirus. Dr. Fauci said this morning, if you stand next to somebody who tested positive, you should self-isolate and get a test. You say your White House doctor is telling you something different. Who should Americans listen to? And my second question is—
I think they have to listen to their doctors. And I think they shouldn't be jumping to get the test unless it's necessary. But I think they have to listen to their doctors. And I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the picture. Somebody said there's a picture with somebody taking a picture with me, but I haven't seen it.
Well, doctors have
but
said
I
you
can
might
tell
have it even if you don't have symptoms. Are you being selfish by not getting tested and potentially
Well, I
exposing—
didn't say I wasn't going to be tested.
Are you going to be?
Most likely, yeah. Most
When do
likely.
you think
Not for
that'll
that
happen?
reason, but because I think I will do it anyway.
You just criticized the Fed yet again. If I could just get a little clarity on your thinking on this.
Yeah.
It's been a hallmark of your presidency. You're always going after the Fed. If you feel so strongly about it, why don't you dismiss the chairman, or do you think you're powerless to do so?
No, I think I have the right to do that, or the right to remove him as chairman. He has so far made a lot of bad decisions, in my opinion. We had this great, and we will soon have again, because I think you're going to have a tremendous bounce when this is over. I think there's a pent-up bounce that's going to be tremendous. I think you saw that yesterday with the stock market. Now, I'm not happy with the Fed because I think that they're following, not leading. We should be leading. I'm not happy because if you look at the central banks of other central banks, largely they're lower than us, their rate. And their equivalent of the Fed rate is lower, in some cases by 2 points. In some cases, that's a lot. In some cases, very substantially. And I thought that the Fed would be and should be much more proactive as opposed to following. Our Fed is following. We have the #1 currency in the world by a factor of many times, as you know. We have the currency, we have the power, we have by far the strong currency. Also, you look at the dollar, the strength of the dollar. Our Fed is not doing what they should be doing. We shouldn't have a Fed rate that's higher than our competitor nations. You look at Germany, they're essentially under zero. They're negative. There are many countries negative. Japan is negative, Germany is negative, others are negative. And we're paying higher interest rates. And what I'd like to do is, frankly, refinance our debt. We could refinance our debt very easily at a much lower rate. We have some tremendous opportunities right now, but Jerome Powell is not making it easy. So I'm glad to see that you're practicing social distancing. That looks very nice.
How quickly you could turn this corner?
My favorite question, I ask it all the time. How many times, Anthony? I think I ask him that question every day, and I speak to Deborah, I speak to a lot of them.
You're not saying it's under control, right?
I'm not referring to it, meaning yeah, if you're talking about the virus, no, that's not under control for any place in the world. I think I read,
You had said it was,
I think
so I
I
just wanted
read,
to
no, I
clarify.
didn't. I was talking about what we're doing is under control, but I'm not talking about the virus.
Are you washing your hands more?
Oh,
What do you
I've
do?
always washed my hands a lot. I wash my hands a lot, probably, maybe if anything more, certainly not less.
What was it like taking the test?
Not something I want to do every day, I can tell you that. It's, it's a little bit of good doctors in the White House, but it's a test. It's a test. It's a medical test. Nothing pleasant about it.
How would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it at 10. I think we've done a great job. And it started with the fact that we kept a very highly infected country, despite all of even the professionals saying, no, it's too early to do that. We were very, very early with respect to China.
First question, a lot of people have got travel to places that aren't considered hotspots,
Yeah.
Caribbean, Mexico, that sort of thing over the next few weeks. Would you recommend that they follow through with those plans?
I would just say, enjoy your home stay. I would just say right now, we have to get this problem fixed, and then we'll get back into business really quick. We'll open up our country, we'll open up our society, the world will hopefully open up. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to know, have you taken a look at some of these models, such as the Imperial College London model, that kind of poses a very difficult choice, whether it's shutting down society or overwhelming the healthcare
Right.
system? Is that something that
We've
you
looked at
took
every
into
model.
consideration?
We've relied on the very talented people, and there's no better team than the people behind me. And I will say that all of the people that have done those models are all in constant touch with Dr. Birx and Tony and everybody that you've been hearing so much from over the last couple of weeks. We've looked at many different models, and the model we have is we want to save a lot of lives. We want to save a lot of lives.
China and others have criticized you for using the phrase Chinese virus. How do you feel about that? Are you going to continue using that phrase?
Well, China was putting out information which was false, that our military gave this to them. That was false. And rather than having an argument, I said, I have to call it where it came from. It did come from China. So I think it's a very accurate term. But no, I didn't appreciate the fact that China was saying that our military gave it to them. Our military did not give it to anybody.
Critics say using that phrase creates a stigma.
No, I don't think so. No, I think saying that our military gave it to them creates a stigma.
When you speak to travel and tourism executives today, what specific help are you going to offer to them, if at all, or is it still vague?
Well, we're going to help. They need help. Look, let's face it. They go from having record-breaking years. This is the third year of record-breaking years, travel and tourism, airlines, everything. They were doing record numbers, ordering new planes, building new hotels. Everything was really hunky-dory. And then one day we hear about this rumor in China, and then we find out it's much more than a rumor. And then all of a sudden, we make a great decision to close it up early. It would be a whole different world. It would be a whole different world. But we make a decision to close it up to China, and all of a sudden, tourism, and then we close it up to Europe, which people never heard of this before. I'm not sure that that's ever been done. I know that when I made the decision to close it to China, people told me that's never been done before. But it was a great decision. We make good decisions.
So, Mr. President, I want to bring up what you referred to just a short while ago about politics. In your address to the nation, you said we have to put politics aside, stop the partisanship, and unify together. This morning, you criticized the Democratic governor of Michigan. Yesterday, it was the Democratic governor of New York. You've attacked Obama. You've attacked Biden. In fact, every day except one since that address, you've lashed out at a Democratic leader. Are you going to set the example?
I
of this?
only do that when I have to respond. I watched her on television. She said something that was false, and therefore I did do that. And I will continue to do that. If they're not going to play fair, because, you know, they have the media on their side, I don't. I just have me. And if they're not going to play fair, I'm going to do that. If they are going to play fair, there's going to be nobody. There's going to be nobody better than Donald Trump in terms of bipartisanship. But if they're going to say things that are false, like the story that was written yesterday, a lot of people, I don't know, somebody, I think I know who, but they taped the conference call that I had with the governors. It was a good call. It was fine. I assume somebody's going to tape it. They handed it to various people, and one of them was the New York Times, and the New York Times chose to write totally inaccurately about it. It was a disgraceful thing. It was bad journalism, but, you know, they do a lot of bad journalism. But we respond to that. And actually, people get it. People get it. No, I want it to be bipartisan, and nobody's going to be better than me. But when they attack me or the people, these incredible people behind me, I'm not going to let them get away with it. I can't do that. Okay, how about one or two more questions? Go ahead, please. I do have to say, when you talk about politics, I watched the debate. Not too exciting, but what they said about me, and we've done a great job. When you talk about not being bipartisan, what they said about me, and if you look at swine flu, the whole thing, and I guess it was 2009, and what they did and the mistakes they've made, they were terrible. They were horrific mistakes. 17,000 people died, and I'll be honest. They shouldn't be criticizing because we've done a fantastic job. The only thing we haven't done well is to get good press. We've done a fantastic job, but it hasn't been appreciated. Even the closing down of the borders, which had never been done, and not only did we close them, but we closed them early. The press doesn't like writing about it. So we've done a poor job on press relationships, and, you know, I guess I don't know who to blame for that. I don't know. Maybe I can blame ourselves for that. I will blame ourselves. But I think we've done a great job. I think we've done a poor job in terms of press relationship. It's the invisible enemy. That's always the toughest enemy, the invisible enemy. But we're going to defeat the invisible enemy. I think we're going to do it even faster than we thought. And it will be a complete victory.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. Comes from China. I want to be accurate.
You tweeted this morning about your approval rating amongst Republicans. You have said that you give yourself a 10 in terms of handling this crisis. How do you reassure Americans at home who don't trust you to handle a crisis of this magnitude?
Well, I think we're doing a really good job. We started off with a termination of the border, the people coming in from China, where this all started. That meant I took it very seriously. And when I use the word calm doesn't mean that I'm not taking it seriously. Calm means, and we should be calm. We should be extremely calm.
How are non-symptomatic professional athletes getting tests while others are waiting in line and can't get them? Do the well-connected go to the front of the line?
Well, you'd have to ask them that question. I mean, I've read. No, I wouldn't say so, but perhaps that's been the story of life. That does happen on occasion, and I've noticed where some people have been tested fairly quickly. Look, we inherited a very.
Encourage them to defer their test to others.
Excuse me. We inherited a very obsolete system. This was a system that was out of date, obsolete, or it was a system that was never meant to take care of the kind of quantity, the number of people that we're talking about, millions and millions of people. If you go back in years past, like even recently with the flu, nobody had tests before. They didn't test the entire nation to see whether or not they had flu. They got the flu, they got better. Hopefully they got better, that was it. Now all of a sudden they do this very complex testing. What we've done is we've broken it down, we've broken up the system, but it was obsolete, and or you could say it was also a system that just wasn't meant to handle the kind of volume that you're talking about. We've rebuilt it into a system that for the future will be a very good system if you want to go this route. John?
President, a couple of things. A major trade coalition is calling on you to suspend tariffs with other countries as part of the response to the coronavirus.
Who heads that group? Those countries do, probably.
No, it's an
Go
American,
check.
it's an American free trade.
I know, I'm sure of free trade. Look, China's paying us billions and billions of dollars in tariffs, and there's no reason to do that. They haven't even spoken to me about that.
What do you say to them if they're watching? Sorry.
If they're what?
I think there are a lot of them watching. A lot of these people at home, these young people.
Well, I think I just said it.
I was going to say, what do you
Heed
say
the
to them?
advice. Heed the advice. I just said, yeah.
We've seen the Chinese government kick out reporters from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post. What is your message to the Chinese when it comes to transparency at a moment where you still have reporters asking you questions here at the White House?
Yeah, I'm not happy to see it. I don't, I have my own disputes with all three of those media groups. I think you know that very well. But I don't like seeing that at all. I'm not happy about that at all. Yes, please.
You didn't correct the language, so I wonder if you agree with it. Do you believe that China is inflicting this upon our country?
No, I don't believe they're inflicting. I think they could have given us a lot earlier notice. Absolutely.
Your credibility ratings are very low. There was a recent NPR poll.
Who are you asking that question?
I'm asking
because I see that they're very high. If you look, I'm 95% of the Republican Party.
credibility.
We just had a poll that was done by a very reputable group where I'm beating Sleepy Joe Biden by a lot.
There are some, at least one White House official, who used the term Kung flu, referring to the fact that this virus started in China. Is that acceptable? Is it wrong? Are you worried that having this virus be talked about as a Chinese virus, that might
I wonder who said that.
Focus,
You know who said that?
I'm not sure the person's name, but would you condemn the fact
say
that
the term
Kung flu?
again.
A person at the White House used the term
Just the term.
Kung flu. My question is, do
Kung
you think
flu.
that that's wrong, Kung flu? And do you think using the term Chinese virus, that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might target them?
No, not at all. I think they probably would agree with it 100%.